everyone. This is Tanya with Scribbles in Time. I am here today to do a flip through of my latest book. And it's been a long time since I've posted a video. I actually just filmed this entire video, and I've heard of this happening to other people, and I think I've had it happen to me before, but never to this extent. I had done a complete flip through of the book. I was like right at the very end of the last signature, and I happened to look at the camera and it showed that it was only like 2 minutes. And so I stopped the video and went back and looked, and for some reason the video had just stopped and then restarted. Well, I didn't know that had happened, so by then I had already stopped. And anyway, somehow I've messed up. So I'm starting over again, and I really wasn't happy with my first video anyway, because I feel like I was rushing through it, and I don't really know why I feel like I was rushing through it, other than, I mean, I was rushing through it, but I don't know why I was rushing through it. I guess because it's just such a big journal, and it just made me feel like I was having to rush. But I'm not going to rush this time, but you know, I'm hoping I don't take too much of your time. I hope I don't ramble too much, but we all, if you've watched any of my videos, you know I tend to ramble when it's something I'm passionate about. And I am so in love with this book and so passionate about this book. And so I'm going to try not to ramble, but I'm not going to rush. So if you're just not, if this isn't your style and you're not in the mood to hear my mouth, then please, I totally get it. I've been there before and I understand. But for those of you who are watching the video, thank you so very much. It means a lot to me. It's very encouraging when I get likes on my videos, or when someone comments something positive on my videos. It's very encouraging, and it helps to encourage me to do something that I love so much. It just it kind of validates it for me. So I thank you very much for those of you who are watching, and if you would please hit the like button and or leave a comment. And let me get started. So yeah, about 6 weeks ago, I started working on journals for my moms, my mother-in-law and my mother. And I did my mother-in-law's first. And I was very happy with my mother-in-law's journal and was excited about it and showed it to my husband and whatnot. And then I go to start on my mom's journal, and I struggle more with my mom. And it's because my mom is, she's me and her, we don't have the same taste, I guess. So I always struggle with just, you know, going and figuring out what direction to go with her. I do know things that she loves. She loves owls and she loves hummingbirds. You know, she loves, like, I always refer to her like raw nature. She doesn't like the frilly, the laces and the roses and the pinks and pastels. She doesn't like frilly stuff. She's more into like the raw nature. Which my mother-in-law is not really a very frilly person either, but for some reason with hers, you know, she loves red birds, and she just loves nature in general. So I was able to just kind of get going with a theme on hers. But then when it came time to do my mom's, it was like I hit a brick wall. And I sat down and just started watching some of my favorite YouTubers. And I was watching one of Jibbit's videos, and Jibbit happened to have a book with this owl rendition on it. Which I fell in love with. I can't remember the artist's name, but I did research it several weeks back and found the book that had this piece of artwork in it. So I ordered 2 of them, because I know that sometimes I can mess up something and or not like something a particular way. So I went ahead and ordered 2 so that I would have an extra one ready, since Mother's Day was very quickly approaching. And so I say all of that to say that I do have an extra picture of this owl, and I am open to taking, you know, custom orders. If anyone wants to comment below and let me know if anyone's interested in a journal that is similar to this style, I am more than happy to do that. Just leave me a comment, and maybe leave your email in the comment, and I'll get in touch with you. I'm already wanting to do a different one for my mother-in-law. I didn't even want to give her her journal on Mother's Day. Today's Tuesday, by the way, May the 14th, and Mother's Day was the day before yesterday. And my mother was out of town, so we didn't get to see my mother on Mother's Day. But we did go out with my mother-in-law, and I didn't want to give her journal because by then I was already wanting to do one of this style for her. But my husband, you know, he was very adamant that I had made that one for her and that it was special. And he was just adamant that we were going to give her that one. So we did, but I'm already wanting to do her another one, which I don't know when she could ever possibly use two. It's going to take her years to fill up the first one. But, and I hope she's not watching this video. She does watch some of my videos. If you're watching, mother-in-law, stop watching. Anyway, okay, so back to this. So yeah, this is my mother's Mother's Day gift that I will be giving to her this coming up weekend. So on the outside of it, we have this owl. I had watched Gibbet's video. I watched one where she did a concept journal, and she did like this little twig coming up the side of the book. So I try to do like my own rendition of that. So these are like some of the twigs from my yard, and then there's, you know, some rope in there and twine, and then I have a little charm of an acorn and a little metal charm, and if you flip that over, it is like a mirrored faceted kind of crystal on the other side, and then another acorn, and then throughout that I have a few beads stitched onto the twine or stitched onto the twigs, and they're just very subtle. I didn't want anything to be very distracting. I just wanted it to be just enough that it would catch your eye. And there's a bead there. The faux leather, a lot of staining, a lot of different stains went into this, and I did some kind of an old world font. I don't know if the camera's picking that up. It'll pick it up better on the back probably. And then here on the bottom, I did a Tim Holtz metal plate. It says "Dream as if you'll live forever." It's layered with some muslin and some moss and cheesecloth and some more muslin and some burlap. I had to do a hitch post. I had not intended on doing a hitch post. This book just kept growing. It kept crying out for more stuff, and I kept obliging it, and it grew on me. Look at this. Believe it or not, this book is only 3 signatures. The spine needed to be like 8 inches larger, but I didn't know that at the time. I thought that this was already, I literally thought this was going to be too big to accommodate anything for my mom as far as a journal, because my mom does not journal. But anyway, it's 3 signatures. The signatures are actually not very big. Well, they're big. They're not many pages. I think one of the signatures has one of the signatures I think is 4 pages, which, you know, doubles up to be 8. And then when you count the front and back, it's like 16 pages. And then the other 2 I think are 5 pages, which, you know, doubles up to be 10 pages. And then counting front and back is like 20. So anyway, here's the back. You can probably see the words a little bit better if there's not too much of a glare. And then from the bottom, you'll see that I have attached some charms to this. I don't know if I'm going to keep these hanging from the center signature or not. I'm going back and forth with myself about doing some bookmarks in the book, and then attaching these to 2 bookmarks, or leaving these attached to the signature and just cutting these other strings. I haven't cut them yet because I want to make up my mind first. I have a couple more days to decide. But here we have an owl pocket watch. Let's see if I can open it with one hand. There we go. It does work. I have it turned off right now, just, you know, as to not waste the battery in it. I doubt my mom will actually use it to keep time anyway. It's just more as a decorative charm. This one is an owl, and it has what looks like little hands, like clock hands in it. I don't know if that's going to pick it up or not with the glare. And then the other side of it, the reverse side, is just metal, which kind of blends with that one. So I just thought that was perfect for my mother. And then, as I said, I did a little post there, hitch post. And I did a charm of a squirrel and an acorn. And that's pretty much the outside. I'm not given the dimensions since this is already, you know, spoken for anyway. But if anyone wants to know the dimensions, just comment below. I'm happy to give that information. I might try to post it in the description. But, you know, it just depends if if anybody shows any interest in it. And again, if you want a custom order, I can do that. And we can talk dimensions then as well. When you open it up, I did leave the inside of the cover plain. Now, I did actually like the back of the post showing. I thought that was, I like that. So I left that showing. And this is the first page. And I'm trying to hold it up so you can see. There's a little metal plate that says handmade on it. And then up here is a charm. It's kind of a crystal. Am I in camera? It's kind of a crystal gold tone charm. And then decoupaged flowers here on the front. And this is the letter that I actually put. I didn't read this in my first video. Again, I was just rushing through. But I actually put this letter in the front of all of my books so that it kind of introduces the new owner to the concept of these journals. Like, for example, my mom, she does not journal. She's just not one of those types of people that, shows her emotions very much. She definitely doesn't, write out her memories or anything like that. So she's not going to understand all these little pockets and tuck spots. And she doesn't get into, keeping little keepsakes and stuff like that. So this letter is just, it kind of introduces the new owner to the concept of what, for those of us who make these books, it kind of introduces them to the concept of what these books are all about. So I'm going to go ahead and read this. Excuse my grammar. This is just my letter, and it's not perfect, but it is what it is. It says, I want to leave a story so that generations from now I might be remembered, not for what I looked like or who I knew, but for who I am, who I love, my memories, my experiences, my life. What better way is there for my future generations to get to know me than to record some of my favorite memories? Throughout this book, there will be places to tuck, maybe even hide memories. Written memories are always the best. My handwriting that is imperfectly unique only to me, something that my loved ones can always have, a place to touch and to know that I once touched. There will be pockets and places to tuck tokens, something that stirs a memory, maybe a movie ticket or a receipt, a random piece of something that only I know what it means. Maybe I will share the thought, maybe I will hold on to it just so that I can remember the experience and smile. Either way, it will mean something to me. Fabric. Oh, how perfect to spray my favorite perfume or to pin stuff onto. Maybe an earring or pendant that holds a special memory. Maybe even pin a piece of fabric from my favorite shirt. Hello, allow me to introduce myself. My name is, and I left a blank for the new owner's name. And then it says, and so my story begins. So that just hopefully will motivate my mother to actually use this book the way we want her to. So I talked to my sister. I have a sister and a brother, and I talked to my sister and I talked to my brother Saturday, and we want my mother to start recording some of her memories. She's never told us a whole lot about her childhood or, her experiences in life. That's just something she doesn't really talk about. She's just, I guess, she just doesn't talk about it. Don't know. But we tried to put a lot of journaling prompts throughout this book. My sister came up with a lot of questions, and I came up with a lot of questions, and just things that we want my mother to talk about, not only for us, but for our children, and hopefully one day our children's children. So just for future generations. So throughout this book, you're going to see a lot of journaling prompts, and I can read some of them out just if it helps any of you in any way to give you ideas of stuff to write about as well. But also, I told you already, it has 3 signatures, I did the first signature centered around, I have Edith Holden pages in each signature. And so I did a month theme in each one. The first signature is a month theme based off of my sister's month of birth, which is January. And then so forth and so on. The center signature is my birth month, and then my brother's birth month is the last one. And so anyway, let's get back to this. So here on this page, there is one of my favorite quotes. I'm not going to read all of these quotes. Gibbet inspired me to actually put these quotes in my books. Since watching her, I have started researching quotes and what my favorite quotes are, but I read a lot of these on previous videos, so I'm not going to read them now because this is such a big book. But there's a quote, and here's a flower. And then inside of this pocket, this is some little digital insect cards, again, going with the nature theme, but not real frilly nature. And I just thought these were so cool. And then this is some packaging off of something I bought, and this is probably the most delicate looking item in the book. It's got the kind of a Victorian air about it with the pink stripes and whatnot. Just a few little pages to write on. And then this is from Gibbet's digital kit. This is Matilda. And through the best I can tell, it looks like Matilda's kind of in a dream state throughout these digital prints. You'll see more of them throughout the book. I'll show them to you and point them out. But I love this one because she's dreaming, and it looks like she's kind of floating back down on a dandelion, just kind of floating back down. I love that, and especially with the particular journaling prompt that we put on this particular one. Here's just paper for writing. And then on the back, we attached a journaling prompt. My mother's daddy passed away when she was very, very young. And he was just a baby himself. I think, if I remember correctly, I think he was like 20 or 21 when he passed away many years ago. But my mom was still very, very young. She was very young. So anyway, I just put on here, remembering my daddy, his full name and birth date, the date that he passed, what I've heard about him, how many siblings did he have, and were they close. So it's just kind of gives her some ideas of something to write about. There's some gesso on the background just to kind of break up the monotony of that color. And then let me tuck all this back in, and we'll move on. On this page, the background, I do have the gesso with a label and a picture of an owl. I mainly put that there, you know, there is journaling space on the back of it, but I mainly put it there so that my mom can come up with the concept of, you know, putting pictures in this book. I think my sister and brother are also bringing some pictures of their kids that I'm going to put in here as well, and then some of my kids as well, but I'm going to tuck my kids in the little pockets. But anyway, I wanted her to see the concept of actually, you know, putting pictures in here, but I think she'll probably leave that picture if I know her. And then I usually always, if you've watched any of my videos, you know, I usually try to put a place for a pen or pencil to go, so that if you do happen to have a thought that you want to jot down, you have a pen ready. And then this is a little tag that's tucked in here. Now this is, like I said earlier, this is going to be the month of January for my sister, and my sister was born on a Tuesday. So that just says Tuesday there. And I'm not going to point those out to my mom at first. I'm going to wait first and see if she, you know, puts together what that is, the meaning behind that. And then this is just a little tag I tucked into the little pocket. There's a bear charm. And then just the tag. And this says things I love to remember, which I thought was appropriate. Then a little piece of paper. And then a picture of a stag. And so that I just tucked into here like that. And then when you flip the page, there is a butterfly charm. Little turquoise colors on it. My sister's favorite is my sister is just known for loving turquoise. So I had to stick that with the turquoise color butterfly. in her signature. And then I just turned this is decoupage and some rope, has it all attached. I just turned this into a little notebook. And this is a journaling prompt here for her to talk about her mom. Different ideas of what to talk about. And then behind it is one of these book page pockets. Now, I learned this from Gail Agostinelli from one of her videos. She does credit someone else in her video of who taught her, but I don't know who she watched that taught her. So I learned it from her, so I credit her, but you can watch her video if you want to see, you know, how to do it and who she got the concept from. On the bottom of it, I just kind of did some collaging, a little bird and one of my quotes that I love with Albert Einstein, and then a piece of fabric. And then there is an owl. That's a vintage card. I think it's from a rummy deck, a kid's rummy game. And then a picture of some trees. Again, the whole raw nature look. And an index card just to write on, and a little postcard that's blank. This is a little envelope with a picture of birds in it. And then this is a vintage, or actually I guess this would be considered antique postcard. It's authentic. It's, I don't know if you can, the light will pick that up or not, but it says happy birthday in glitter, which I just kind of thought was appropriate because, you know, I did the different signatures with our birth months. And so I loved that it had the nature picture, but it wasn't too frilly. And then it also referenced birthdays. And I am fixing to cough. Go ahead and prepare you for that. I'm sorry. Excuse me. Dry throat. This is the Edith Holden page, and I was so thankful that this, I guess, title page for her book fell on the other side of the January, because obviously that's my sister's birth month. But then this also can kind of, because my mom doesn't get into all of this, she doesn't understand the reference to Edith Holden and nature notes and all of that. So this just kind of introduces my mom to this concept. I love it. And so I left all this blank. And so that's for January. These are empty envelopes. This is where I left my sister some space to add some things, or for my mother to add some things, and some pictures. January. This is a little homemade notepad that's tied onto the page. There's Matilda again. And some just homemade paper. And then there's a journaling prompt right here I tucked in behind it. And then this is just a piece of ephemera that references nature. Oh, behind it is I gessoed, and then there's a feather and a little piece of fabric that's kind of in the shape of a feather, but not intentionally. It just looks that way now. You know, my sister has not even seen this yet, so kind of starting to feel a little bit nervous. I hope everybody loves it. My mom's never seen one of my books, and it's just so important to me for her to love this. I can tell when I'm talking to her about it. I can tell she just doesn't really understand it, and I'm hoping that this is just going to be the perfect introduction for her to the concept of what I do. On this side, I made a little pocket, and there's some lace with some rope twined through it. And this pocket I left empty for my sister to put stuff in. And here's a feather, a strip of burlap, and some greenery. And then the bunny rabbits are decoupaged on. And then this right here, I give full credit to Sherry with Turquoise Dreaming. I love Sherry. She was my very first subscriber on YouTube. I call her my friend. I've never met her, but I watch her videos. I love her personality. Again, it's Turquoise Dreaming, and I give her full credit for this. Let me tell you, she has this one of these in her shop that she made, and I kept putting it in my cart, and then, you know, I was back and forth with it. My brother would be too young to remember this, but me and my sister remember this. I've already shown this to my sister, but me and my sister remember, I remember this picture. They had different books with different pictures. I remember this one so well, and I remember my mama collecting the green stamps. We would go to our local Piggly Wiggly in Macon, Georgia. That's where I grew up, and she would collect the green stamps. We remember going to the little green stamp store, and you know, her looking for, I think she was looking for like a toaster or something to buy with the green stamps. I can't remember that part. It's too much, but anyway, so Sherry had made one of these, and I had never even thought of it. I did have this, all the stuff, but I'd never even thought of making a little journal handbook out of that. And so anyway, fell in love with it, kept putting it in my cart, and I decided, you know, I knew my mom. I knew if I was putting this in my mom's book, it would be more special if I made it. And so I made one, and I totally copied hers, so I give her credit for that. And hers may even still be in her shop, so I encourage you to find her. And in the center, I did put a charm that says found, because I just thought that was so appropriate with these old green stamps. And then a little pink bead in that. And the other thing, you know, my husband has gotten past making fun of me about picking up trash because I pick up trash to use in my books, and he used to make fun of me and laugh at me about it. Now he just shakes his head and accepts it. But I've told my mom owns a business, and you know, I tell her all the time, Mom, don't throw away any paperwork. If you have any paperwork, hold on to it. It'll be cool inside of my books. And she doesn't understand, and I'm hoping this will also kind of introduce her to, you know, the concept of the weird things that we use in our books. Like a guest check, you know, she would never think of why in the world we would use a guest check or a score pad from a game, but to me it's cool and awesome. And I'm hoping it'll kind of introduce her to the, you know, the method of my madness. My husband's accepted it. It's time for her to. Anyway, okay, so this charm right here, again, I told y'all earlier, my sister loves turquoise, and I found this charm, and it's an owl with turquoise beads. So just what a perfect combination of my mom and my sister. And so I had to get this to go into my sister's signature, because it's just the perfect combination of the two of them. So there's the owl charm, and then we have a little journaling prompt that my sister wanted this to be asked, and it just says, what I hope my kids remember about me. And so I just kind of tucked that in there. Now, obviously, I don't think it, or I hope that this won't be enough room for my mom to write everything that she wants us to remember about her, but I put that same prompt throughout the book so that, you know, the different things that she chooses to hopefully write about, she can do so. There's that little piece of lace with the rope fed through. And then this is the last page of my sister's signature. And if you've watched any of my previous videos, I actually did this rendition on the front of one of my books. And I love it. I don't even know if my mom will. She's never seen it yet. It's decoupaged on, but it's a bunny rabbit, and he's just so quirky looking. I call him the funny bunny. But he's chewing on a little blade of grass, and he just looks so quirky. And I love this little bunny rabbit. And on the journal that I made with him on the front, I put the Tim Holtz metal plate that says Embrace Imperfection. How fitting. So I just typed that out for this one. And there's music paper and burlap and some fabric and muslin, and then a piece of, you know, greenery coming up there. And then at the end of that signature, my intention had been to make what I call press boards. But it's just a board that I usually, when I have these fat journals like this, where it would be hard for somebody to actually write on a paper, you know, on a page because it's too fat and everything, I like to make these press boards for people, you know, to bear down on for writing. But so I started out with the plans of doing a press board, and this turned into what Nick the Booksmith calls a raggedy. I saw where she did raggedy's in one of her journals, and so I was inspired to do my own rendition of that. And so this is a piece of like medium weight chipboard, and I've kind of collaged on it with some toadstools and fabric there with a picture of an owl and burlap, and then the whole greenery thing, and there's some sticks in there coming down the side. But when you look at the book from the outside, that pokes out of the side and gives it kind of some personality. And like I say, Nick the Booksmith calls that a raggedy, so there's my raggedy. On the other side, I've got one of my quotes that I love so much, and again, some layering of fabrics and papers and burlaps, and then this kind of, I don't know what you call that, kind of like a twiney kind of ribbon. And so that is that raggedy for that spot. I made one to go in between each of the signatures. And now we're going into the middle child syndrome, which is me. My birth month is October, so we're going into the October section. On this first page, I kind of left it plain. I liked the way it looked against the raggedy with that fabric. And then also there, I did this little rendition of a postcard, and I did it like a pocket style, and I put a little journaling prompt inside of that. And then when you flip that open, this is actually a piece of an old postcard, and if you've watched my previous videos, you know I have an issue with tearing up anything that's really old. I struggle with it. This was a really old postcard. I think it said 1904, I think was the date on it, but it was so brittle, it was just falling apart. You can see there where the corner actually broke off. It was too brittle to use. It fell apart on me. So I literally glued it there to the bottom so that I could help save what little bit of it I could. There was no writing on the back of this part. Had there been writing on it, I probably would have sandwiched it in some cellophane or something and somehow tried to display it that way. But there was not any writing on the back, so I just glued it onto this. This is a bag, obviously, with a key. And again, this, I don't call this nature, I call it wildlife right here. But my mom loves elephants, but I just didn't think that the elephant charm went well with the nature. To me, this is just more wildlife, but she does love elephants. I had come across this and put it in the box of stuff that reminded me of my mom. And so into her journal it goes. So I just kind of tucked that into this bag up here for her. And then down here I did put two original old postcards. They just had this, you know, again, this kind of raw, simple nature pictures on them. And so this one is dated 1910. And this one is dated 1912. So those went into the journal. And then me and my husband, we love live music. We love going out and just, you know, relaxing, enjoying ourselves and listening to live music. And we found down in our little downtown square, we found this little restaurant / pub that has live music on Thursdays, Fridays, and Saturday nights. So last Thursday night, we went and listened to the music, and, you know, the waitress comes by and sits my glass of water, you know, sits the coaster down. And, you know, as soon as I saw this coaster, I grew up in, I said it earlier, I grew up in Macon, Georgia. I now have moved up a little south of Macon, and I live in a little town called Locust Grove, Georgia, which is near Atlanta. And, but anyway, so growing up, when I was young, we all lived in Macon. And so as soon as she set this coaster down, me and my husband locked eyes. He knew. He just kind of rolls his eyes at me now. He knew this disposable coaster was going to be coming home with us. And it did. And it's going in my mom's book because it says Macon on it. And this was my very first pressed flowers. And these came out of our yard. Again, I was watching Sherry with Turquoise Dreaming, and it's probably been about 5 weeks ago. She was doing her first pressed flowers, and she inspired me. I was watching her do hers, so I thought, you know what, I need to try that. And so I did. Thank you, Sherry, for the inspiration. So this was my first pressed flowers. That literally yesterday morning, the alarm went off on my phone letting me know that it was 4 weeks on my pressed flowers, which it takes them 4 weeks. So I ran and took those out of the flower press, and I sewed them into this CD case, which again kind of can show my mom the cool ways that we find to use stuff that some people consider trash, and we find ways to use it. And so I put my flowers in there with this little window that shows through, and that flips up. And then there's some paper, and then this is another of Gibbet's renditions of Matilda. I love it. It's my favorite one. I love that. And so there she is. And then when you flip behind her, there is a journaling prompt. And it's just inspiring my mom to talk about herself. And it's giving her some ideas of things that we want to know about her. And some cards, inset cards. And then this is my first ever attempt at mixed media. I don't know how good it is, but I'm happy with it. It was my first try, and I had fun with it. That's the most important thing. I enjoyed doing it. When I was a little girl, I was always the artist of the family. For some reason, my family thought I was very artistic, and so anyway, I did love to do art. I used to love doing charcoal and pastels, and then I moved up, in my older teenage years, I started doing oil paintings, and I actually sold a lot of oil paintings, and I used to love to oil paint, and then life happened, and I had little kids, and it's very hard to oil paint when you have little kids running around, and, canvases that need to sit and dry, and it was hard to do, and plus we had kids, and our house was tiny back then, and just not a lot of extra room for doing my crafts. So this was my first attempt at mixed media, guys. And I know it's not great, but I like it. And so I did burlap with one of the quotes that I love, and different layers of collaging, and some fabric here. And over on this side, now I clipped this stuff on, but over on this side, there is a decoupage deer and a piece of ribbon and some netting and some muslin. And then I did create a pocket behind it with a glassine bag and a stag on it and a little book with a journaling prompt in it. And then over here, I call this my little matchbox book, which is totally not right. I don't know what you call them. But I folded the cardstock up over the little paper so that the paper wouldn't snag when I was sliding it in. So whatever, it works for me. And I put a journaling prompt back here behind there. And I started not to stick anything in here, but I wanted something that kind of tied in the different, colors, and it also added a little dimension and texture there. So that's what I did. Over here on the side of the page, I clipped on one of the funny bunnies, which kind of goes back to that funny bunny. And then I clipped on this Marjolaine Bastine page, her rendition of an owl, which that also has owls. And behind that page, when it's clipped in, behind it there is journaling paper with journaling prompts like that, which just all clips back on like this. One of my fancy clips. If I can make it work. I don't get out much. There we go. And then here is a piece of stationery that I've had since I was a little girl. I don't know how this has survived. I sure never thought that I would ever use it. I don't know how it survived all these years with all my different moves and everything else, but somehow I still had this stationery. And I'm so glad that I did. It actually brings back fond memories for me, because the reason I had stationery, I had a great uncle that we always joked and said I was his favorite, which really isn't a joke. I was his favorite. We all know. I'm everybody's favorite. Anyway, so for some reason he took to me, and I loved him so much. And he was the closest I had to a granddaddy. He was actually my granddaddy's brother, but my granddaddy passed away. Well, y'all know, I've already told you, my mother's father passed away when my mother was a baby. And then my daddy's daddy passed away when I was probably about 5 years old. So I have some vague memories of him, but, you know, not very many memories. Plus, he was very sick. The few memories I have of him, he was very sick. So my great uncle, which was my granddaddy's brother, was very close to me. He came and spent summers with us every summer. And throughout the rest of the year, we would write to each other. He was my pen pal. And he lived in Texas, and I lived in Macon, Georgia. And anyway, this was the stationery I used for writing him. And thank you for letting me share that memory. But I don't know why I chose to share that, but I did. So anyway, this was the stationery paper. My mom won't know that, but I'll tell her about it. Plus, look how perfectly that frames out the best month of the year, October. Isn't that pretty? So anyway, the center of the signature, again, I'm probably going to be cutting these off, but I haven't done that yet. I'm going to make up my mind first. But here's the center of the signature. And then the back of the October page. These are just some pictures of toadstools, mushrooms. There's like journaling prompts on the back side of the picture. Another one here with a journaling prompt. I just clipped those on just because I like them. Don't know if my mom will. And then this is the chipboard I was telling you about earlier. I'll show you that in a minute. This is a pocket that I created using the tail ends of those pages that I had done the mixed media on. So I made a pocket out of those ends of those. And on this side, that's a pretty ribbon with like rhinestones going down it. I thought it was pretty because it's just enough of a frilly flare. Ooh, try to say that fast. A frilly flare for my mom, but yet with it being on this burlappy kind of ribbon, I thought it wasn't too frilly. So I really like that. On the other side of the pocket is a piece of fabric, and there's a pretty picture that kind of goes with that. I'll show you in a second. This is the press board that I was telling you about earlier for her to, you know, use on the back sides of paper to press down to be able to write. I didn't want to use anything on these that would, you know, mess with the penmanship or cause, you know, dents and dimples as she's writing. So it's just plain medium chipboard. And then on the reverse side, this is the picture I was telling you that I like against that fabric. Y'all, this is me. This is not my sister. This is not her taste at all. I was actually a tomboy when I was really, really young, but as I got, you know, a little bit older and into my early teen and, you know, preteen years, I was very frilly. And so this just had to go in my signature. This quote on here is, one of the luckiest things that can happen to you in life is to have a happy childhood. Agatha Christie. And boy, did I ever have I had a perfect childhood, and I thank God and I thank my parents for that. Just a beautiful childhood, beautiful memories, and I just love this. This is me. I'm a sentimental kind of person. Loved it. This is a label. Whose label is this? It may be Tracy Fox. It might be Roxy Crew. I can't remember whose label this is. If you're interested to know, just comment below and I'll try to go back through my digitals and see whose that was. I'm trying to do better with that, y'all. I really am, but I swear to goodness, usually I can remember until my camera's turned on, and then I forget everything. It's like I forget everything. Thursday is the day of the week that I was born on. October the 16th. This actually said October the 22nd, but I just took my little marker and fixed that to the best day of the year. So now it's corrected. Except the 1857. That's not correct. Although I feel like sometimes when I get up in the mornings, I feel like I was born in 1857. From the back side of that, I just love that vibrant color there. And then, oh, on this page, okay. Again, I kind of rushed through this. This was the same, whoever those labels were, that's the same ones, I believe. I can't remember, guys. I'm sorry. I didn't go through this on my first video, and again, it was because I was feeling like I needed to rush, and y'all probably are wishing that I would now, but fast forward. But I love Jibbid. I watch her videos, and I love the way she does her concept journals. So I have been working on a concept journal, and it's going to take a long time for me to get it done because to me, I don't know about for her, but for me, they completely suck every bit of emotion and thought and time. They're very time consuming, and I mean, to sit and write a story, it takes a lot of thought, and to me, it's somewhat emotional too. It's a lot of sitting and thinking of old memories and how you can equate them into a character's life. But this right here is my beginning of what's going to be my concept journal, but it's the beginning of where some childhood memories, which, you know, I had none other to reflect back on other than my own. So anyway, but I'm not going to read this. If I ever do complete my concept journal, I will for sure post everything so that everybody can share in it with me. But the thing that I have been debating on, just kind of reading this first little page, because it does kind of, to me, again, it symbolizes what we should be doing for journaling. And so anyway, this is how it starts. It says, once upon a time, she was young. It didn't feel like that long ago. Time is a fragile illusion. In a moment, it rushes away. Memories flow through her mind, sometimes gushing like a waterfall. Barely able to register the thought before it is stored away again into a vault somewhere deep in her mind. Will it ever be thought of again? How perfect to record the memories before they escape, but how will she ever be able to record the feelings that are indescribable? And it goes on to describe some of the indescribable feelings. I did leave the back page of this blank. Some of the stuff I described in here, I don't know if my mom will even remember about me, because it's some of my little shenanigans I used to do, and thoughts I had, and I don't know if my mom will recognize that this is kind of like my story or not. So anyway, I'm going to kind of write a note back here. One of the things I describe in this is coming in the evenings. I mean, when I was young, when I was growing up, my mom was a stay-at-home mom, and you know, every evening she had supper laid out on the table for us. I mean, we didn't have dinner bells or anything like that. We would play outside all day. You know, we didn't have computer games and all of that back then that I'm aware of. And so we played outside all day, and we knew when it was supper time, we came in and ate. And we always came in to, you know, a fresh cooked meal, fried pork chops and macaroni and cheese, and just, you know, the green beans and just everything that I loved. And anyway, so I do reference my memories to that, and how I would give anything just to have just, you know, one supper time meal sitting around that table with my sister and my brother and my mom and dad, and all of us just sitting there, you know, me being a young carefree child again with no worries in the world. So anyway, I talk about that in here. So I say all of that to tell you about this. So on this page, I did this little pocket down here, and I did like this vintage ephemera of a menu. And in here, I put a journaling prompt for her to maybe talk about meals that she remembers cooking for her kids when they were young. So I put that there, and then I put some cards here with the hopes that she would actually, you know, put recipes for some of those meals. You know, she has recipes. She has index cards with recipes, and she's given me probably half of them, and my sister, and, you know, we have the recipe cards, a lot of her recipe cards, but they don't have her, you know, her Irish stew and her things that she just considered to be just, she just knew how to make it. It wasn't written down on a card. She just knew. But that's the things I want, you know, her beef stroganoff, her fried pork chops, and you know, she did it the real healthy style. I think she used a little bit of bacon grease in her grease to fry the pork chops. How healthy is that? Anyway, here's a little booklet. with another journaling prompt in it, and then a piece of stationery, and then some little ephemera right there. Boy, I am rambling. I am so sorry, guys. I hope somebody's at least listening. Am I talking to myself? Okay, maybe it's better that I not know. Okay, there's all that. And then this is the last part of my signature on the back side. This didn't really work the way I had hoped it would, and I think it's because I didn't make this thick enough. I put these little swivel hinges on this page, and I think this has got to be thicker, so I might add some more pages to this. In fact, I'm going to leave this out so I remember to do that. Oh, so anyway, it's just mushrooms. I love these pictures, so I put a lot of these in my signature. And this just paper, and there's a journaling prompt on the back of that. And then this is a old rummy card that I actually sewed onto the page, the Wise Owl, because it's my signature and I'm wise. And so that had to go there, and I'm going to lay this out so I can add some more. So this is the next raggedy, and this is the raggedy that kind of sticks out at the top and the bottom, obviously, so that when the book is closed, that's kind of the personality poking out of the top and the bottom. And I collaged on it. I did an owl picture with some rope around it, and some moss, and some sticks out of my yard, some burlap and muslin and leaves. Oh, sorry, I'm knocking the camera. Some rope, just, you know, everything that she had to have in her book. Okay, and then on the other side, I did another quote, and some burlap and muslin there, and paper. Oh, and a ruler, because, you know, she's got to measure something. I don't know what. I don't know why I would put a ruler in her book. She might want to measure like a picture, know how big that card is. Don't know, but anyway, if we're going to talk about her using a ruler, I guess we should talk about her using the little watch, or for that matter, the paper. I don't know that she'll even use the paper. Okay, so my brother's signature. My brother was born in the month of December, and as you can see there, he was born on a Monday, and he is the baby. So he's the apple of my mama's eyes. And I love my brother. This is a little tie, and just some journaling paper behind it. That's a little metal something, I don't know what, so that's what that is. And then some paper and a journaling prompt, and then I just tuck all of that in here. I made a pocket out of this, and that's a piece of ephemera that I don't know what the red scissors coupons are, but maybe someone else remembers what those are. I don't, but the reason I love this is because it has the, you know, like the cowboy guns and holsters. And back when I was a kid, you know, that's, my brother ran around the neighborhood with his holsters and cowboy guns, you know, on his side. And, it, you know, it wasn't the danger that it is in today's times, but back then that was the thing. He was a little cowboy, and that's what he did. He ran around the neighborhood with cowboy guns and holsters and whatnot. And anyway, so I think that will for sure spur a memory from my mom and hopefully make her smile. On this side, my mom is not going to understand the whole journal thing. I've already said that 1,000 times, but I don't even know that she'll see that I made a pocket here because it's even with the pages. So I attached a rope to this, and then I swiveled the rope out and kind of looped it around one of those metal thingies that I showed you earlier. And so that's attached on with a rope, and it's just a piece of cardstock that I made an envelope out of with some paper on the inside and some journaling prompts, and then a little tuck place there. And then on this side I did a little pocket with an insect, and it's supposed to look like a vintage postcard. And inside of it, I tucked some of these, I think they're called cigarette cards, or either tea cards, I don't remember what, but there was a lot of different pictures, but the only two that really, you know, I thought would look like something my mom would like was the owl and the hummingbirds. But I don't like to do anything in an even number, so I tucked in another one. There's, you know, it's got to be done in threes. You can't just, gosh, you can't just do two. What in the world? Okay, so that goes there. Before I loop the rope over, I'm going to show you real quick these pockets. So there's another of the inset pictures. Here is one of those coupon thingies with a baseball glove on it. And then here's a Southern Oil Stores United Profit Sharing certificate, and it's a numbered certificate. And then a picture of an owl. And you might be asking how that applies to a memory for my mother, and I don't know, it doesn't. It's just cool. Really cool. And then over here is a glassine bag with a cute little fox on it with his little paws crossed there. And then I stuck a rope out of that book so that my mom would actually know that there was something in there. And it's just some paper with a little pocket in the back with a tag in it. And get that hook back. The December page. This is another glassine bag with a fox and another little booklet inside with a journaling prompt. On the other side of this clip, I had this vintage postcard with a journaling prompt on the back. Those clip back on. And this is a piece of fabric, and I just thought it was very pretty. I love putting fabric somewhere in my book just for the texture of it. And then this had like the blue pinstripes, which I just thought would look good in my brother's signature. My daddy worked for the railroad when I was growing up, and I swear I almost remember my brother wearing some kind of little railroad, like overall short set or something when he was a baby with that kind of pattern on it. And I'm probably just inventing that memory, but I swear it just keeps coming into my mind. So I want to ask my mom, but she may not even remember either. Piece of fabric. Oh, this is Sherry with Turquoise Dreaming inspired me on this. This is a key, obviously. There's actually again, my husband fusses at me picking up trash, and we were past the point of him fussing when that happened, when this happened too. But we were actually we were at the airport, and we're walking into the airport, and I stop, and I'm like bent over, you know, as I always do, picking up trash off the ground, and I look up, and he's just standing there looking at me, shaking his head. But I had found this key on the ground outside of the airport entrance, and it's obviously a luggage key. But the reason it's going in my mom's book, well, I won't tell the story, but she borrowed luggage from me one time, and there is a little story to that. But my husband just shook his head, and the key went in my pocket, and here it is now in my mom's book. But anyway, Sherry with Turquoise Dreaming does a whole little video on this, and her rendition is different, and I've done it her way, and then I did this one for my mom's journal. I did her way for another journal, but on the back of this was just, I don't know, a silly childhood memory, the little girl eating the bread. And then I attached all of this to the press board for her to bear down on, like a clipboard, for her to bear down on for writing. And behind all of that is a piece of burlap that just has a scripture on it. And that's that. But yeah, Sherry with Turquoise Dreaming does a video on doing these little key tag ideas. And then it goes into this little parchment paper envelope, which, I don't know, to me it doesn't really serve much of a purpose other than the sound. I love that sound, and I do have issues with that sound. I love that crinkly, crunchy sound of parchment paper. Can anybody relate? I don't know. Okay, here is a bag. This is going to be the center of this last signature. I have a picture of an owl there. This is just an envelope with some index cards in it, with a journaling prompt. Inside of this is another one of the glassine bags with another one of the books. And y'all, this this goes back to my husband fussing at me about, you know, trash. If ever we're going to talk about trash, I guess this is the time to really talk about my issue. But for those of you who don't know, this is actually made out of a toilet tissue cardboard insert out of a roll of toilet tissue. All of the little books that I've been showing throughout, most of you probably recognize it from tutorials that y'all have watched, but all of these little books throughout my journal have been made out of the toilet tissue cardboard. Got problems. This little pocket has pages out of a book about owls. My mom, I doubt she'll read these. I don't even know. I'm sure she'll keep them in there just because she probably won't even take them out. But they reminded me of my mom, so, you know, they had to go in her book. It was, you know, if it reminds me of my mom, it's going in her book. Okay. This is the other side of that parchment paper. This is just layers and layers of fabric with a feather on the bottom. And I just loved all these different fabrics. So I literally just went through and pulled out a bunch of fabric that I liked that was kind of a earthy, neutral feel. And that's where I'm at. That's that. So this is an envelope. And y'all, I'm looking at the time in my video and I'm kind of freaking out. I am so sorry it's taking this long. I'm fixing to like fly through the last of it. I'm sorry about that. This is a quote and it just really applies to me because it has the word hoarder in it. Just kidding. My husband does say I'm becoming a hoarder with all this stuff for the books. But anyway, there's that quote. This is made out of a envelope and I left it empty so that my brother's note to my mom can go in there. And I put the little finger saying, hey mom, look in there. And that's a tuck spot. And then these two are like another envelope that's cut up into little pockets and attached to swing out. And a picture of an owl. And that's also a fussy cut butterfly that I layered on top of some cardstock. And I made it into a pocket. And then that's a pocket. And then down here is a fox and a pocket. And then inside of the envelope down here is one of those toilet paper books with a stag on it with some paper in it. And I've got to hurry. I am so sorry this video turned out so long, y'all. I hope somebody out there hung with me through this. And if you did, thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Please validate me. This is the other piece of that fabric. This is probably the only piece of blank paper in the entire book. December. And this is the last page. This is a coffee filter envelope with a little family of foxes decoupaged on it. And this is a little file folder right up above it that I decoupaged some hummingbirds on because, you know, you have to. And it's a file folder. So that's it. That's the last page. This is the back cover. And you know what? I'm going to rush off and just tell you all thank you so very much. If you would, please hit like and leave a comment, please. And if you're interested in the custom order, just reach out to me. And again, it's Tanya with Scribbles and Time. Thank you so much for watching. Y'all be blessed.